Hello everybody, and welcome back to the smoke room. Oh, excuse me. It has been a minute, hasn't it, guys? I looked at the save file for this, and it was like 2024, and I'm like, shit, has it been that long? Damn, it's weird. Yes, it's now been about a year since I've stopped recording with Darian, hasn't it? It's a oh. Time passes, guys. Time is not an illusion. How disappointing. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. But you know what happened? What do we remember Murdoch's route? I barely remember Murdoch's route. I we're at the wedding. I think the Hendrix Manor is on fire. Things are happening. Things are popping off. I hope a giant sea creature bursts out of the ground, you know, with like Blythe and what was it? Melissa? Melissa. Boink. That was their name. Oh my god. I like that. For a second, I'm like, I'm just gonna say words and hope it's correct, like for the name, and like I think that was it, wasn't it? Yeah. And they're like riding this, like the creature from the depths. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what we're doing. The church doors burst open. Did they have portraits before? They didn't, right? Am I remembering that correctly? They were in a CG. I remember that, but I don't remember. He's still pretty cute. The short, chunky cat. Let's go. We see both Neil and Ruben panting and disheveled with sweat. Which one was Neil and which one was Ruben? Oh, okay, his mouth opened. I get it. Okay.
A fire is spreading from the top of the hill.
The priest? There was a priest here? Shit.
Top of the hill? Do you mean the Hendrix Manor? I wouldn't really know.
Close the door. You'll let the smoke in. Ruben shuffles back. No, Cato! Closing the big double doors behind him. Of course that man picks today to go up in flames. Mrs. Burns sighs as Neil passes her, making a beeline straight for Jim.
They shut down the main train. We can't get out.
Fashionably late for the ceremony, Neil. We thought we might be missing you. The dog ignores Holly's tone and places his paw on Jim's lapel. Lapel? His voice lowers to a murmur.
Can't you make these hicks do something?
Neil's tone is a low growl. Oh, what were the voices of characters? I did. I now have to improvise voices for these characters. I wasn't voicing these before. Excuse me.
What are you even asking me, Neil? I just, evaluate the minerals here. You think I believe for 1 second you have no sway here?
I hear Ruben's easygoing chuckle replaced by a nervous titter now. Come on, Jim. Jim! That's not like you at all. Surely there's someone you can talk to. Look at that smile. Look at the smile. Hard to believe you can't get the train running again if you put in a good word or two with some blokes at the station, right? It's just fire, for God's sake. Not a contagion? Contagion, the likes of yellow fever. Just because there's a disaster going on doesn't mean you get to speak to the Lord's name in vain in his own house. Gretchen's voice cuts through both of them sharper than any knife. Ruben's lip curls into a tight sneer. My apologies, ma'am. Jim's friends, everyone. I'm not the one who speaks, who needs an apology, but the gesture is noted. Far worse things have happened to people before they went headless. For forsaking the Lord left and right. Father,
The church basement should be clean and cool, should it not? I believe Sister Frida tends to it, but I admit that I haven't been down there for years. We should take the young and the elderly away from the smoke. If the community responds quickly, we might be able to nip this in the bud.
Grandma Rowan? Who is that one? I don't know. You and Alfred are going out there, Gretchen. All right, the grandmama. It's coming back to me. It's been a year, guys. It's coming back to me. I'm remembering the characters of Murdoch's route. Not really.
Obviously, somebody has to. Hendrix's manor is huge. If the fire's not taken care of soon, there will be a lot of smoke damage. You just stay here and relax. We'll fix this.
But you're no spring chicken, Hen.
It's a
Precarious position to put yourself.
I'll be fine, Mother. Your scarf.
Thank you, dear. She addresses the crowd as she begins to wrap the scarf around her neck.
If any of you think you have a better place to be, consider going now. If the flames light the whole manor up, the smoke will only get worse before it gets better. I'll be back soon if they don't have this under control. And what about the wedding?
Mrs. Burns blinks, as if utterly taken aback.
I can't move heaven and earth for you, Holly. If it wasn't meant to be today, then it wasn't meant to be today.
Holly goes a bit stiff as Gretchen turns away from her and faces the crowd slowly gathering near the front of the chapel. I knew she ain't happy about this, but something about how she stands makes me think she was expecting something to go wrong.
As a community, we have to come together to meet this crisis. In the meantime, any able-bodied men should look for a bucket or a pail in case we have to form a water chain.
She and her husband slip out the door. At first, only a few of the guests slip past me, headed for the door. Then, they slip by me in crowded clusters, the sound of their voices growing more frantic as they push past the wooden doors and into the outdoors, where the sky is already pink with smoke pollution. The priest looks more than a bit disoriented, that is what that says, when he's nearly trampled by the fleeing group guests, that says. We're trying, guys, we're trying. Pushing past him, but he brushes himself off and flicks his tongue while he gathers himself. Oh. 3/4 view. We love to see it.
You'll have to say... you'll be the one saying then.
Neil gives the snake a glare. A snake? The priest is a snakey?
Do we look like we have anywhere else we could be?
We're from out of town, and there's no guarantee where we're staying will be suitable.
Well, the basement is this way.
He backs up, and his robes sweep against the door, as to his side, while he searches the inside of his sleeves. Sleeve pocket for a ring. His tongue slips past his lips again, almost nervously as the eyes of several dozen people watch him slip the small bit of metal into the lock, twisting it fast enough to make the hollow rattle.
Give space for the elderly first, please.
And Grandma Burns hobbles through the crowd and takes a look down the stairs. Cozy for a crawl space, isn't it?
I believe it was built as an infirmary, though there's been no need for it.
He adds to that a bit quickly.
There won't be, God willing, but we maintain precaution.
Downstairs again, huh? I wait for my turn as people quickly disappear into the little hole in the wall. But at least it looks clean down here. Though I have to admit that I'm beginning to hate being in basements. We tend to keep finding things that we shouldn't be finding in them here. I can see there's plenty of curtains and beds stacked against the wall. If somebody wants to hide a trapdoor or cover something up with plywood, they probably Sam, you're standing in the doorway.
Oh,
I move to the side as a group of people push past me, filling up one corner of the big room that seems to stretch out further than I would have thought likely. I hope I didn't come across as too aggressive. Just a little reminder that you're certainly big enough to block a hallway.
right. Down this way, Mrs. Sterling. Soon to be Mrs. Sterling.
No need for any fuss, Father. She's smiling, but her tone is icy. Would it be indecent for me to sit on one of your beds? I mean to collect my thoughts and catch my breath. The priest assures her that it's no trouble at all as she glides away. The form of her figure, billowing like a spirit when it slips back into the dark, but white hot and burning when the fabric is caught by a sunbeam. Jim, on the other hand, ain't going near her. He's probably done the best thing he can do now, gluing himself between his two friends, is saying something frantic and hushed. You seem distracted. I blink and spin slowly in place, checking out the basement walls again.
Just entertaining a stupid thought is all.
Stupid thoughts can be funny sometimes. I lean in closer and lower my voice.
You think there's a false wall somewhere in this room?
She squints at me and tilts her head. That's a specific thing to ask somebody. Now she's looking at the walls too.
Anyway, how come you didn't go back to the hip?
She blinks a few times, then straightens her back. Oh, right. I have to, considering they pay me up front. Oh, I could have, that's what it says. But I didn't really do much today. I think it would be for the best to wait for Mrs. Burns to hear when they're going to reschedule the ceremony. I won't hold my breath considering all the things going against this wedding. Like hell they'd know that though.
Good thinking.
At least the bride looks like she's holding up well. Holly Burns is sitting on a bed, or writing in her little black book. I know I'd be bawling if something like this happened on my wedding day.
Do you think you'd make the priest keep going through the fire?
I figure believing priests are fireproof is more realistic than thinking one would burn for me. I know she's joking, but there was some bite to how she said burn. Oh, Ralph exists. Right. This is a character. Who's this? I really don't remember. I didn't voice Ralph, that's right. I don't know what to do for his voice. Oh my god, I'm choking. We'll have to think of something. And I can hear the suspicion in Ralph's strained tone before I can even see him bare his teeth. I grunt.
A coworker.
Listen, me and Murdoch gotta talk with you. He gives Cynthia a look over, then speaks to me. It's private. She shrugs. I'm not much one for gossip. I mean, it's sensitive stuff. It would be indecent. I'm not so modest, so that sounds good to me. Ralph blinks, so she continues. I suspect the wait down here will be boring otherwise.
It's sacrilegious.
So? The priest looks at us nervously and crosses his... For the first time, Cynthia breaks eye contact with me to give Ralph a better look over. Say, aren't you the rat who works at the general store? Ralph's whiskers twitch.
Might be.
Yeah. You're Scarlett's fence. Ralph gives me a look that seems to be saying, can you please handle her, so I just don't meet his eyes and pretend for a little while that he's not looking.
Ralph, what's taking so long? Sam's with somebody. Is that so?
Murdoch puts his hands in his pockets and looks us over. Mrs... Oh god, what was... So...
Ah, Cynthia.
Mr. Burns.
You wouldn't mind if we borrow Mr. Ayers for a moment, would you?
She squints and lowers her voice to a low hush. Well, he's not really mine to loan out, but it hasn't escaped my attention that you've been occupying him for some time the past few weeks. Murdoch chuckles a bit, amusing with his hair as he gives her a practiced smile.
It's just been business.
She looks at him up and down. No doubt. He frowns a bit, and Ralph smirks.
But now that you bring it up, you've spent time with my sister.
Well, yes, both of them, in fact. Her brow lifts. Yeah, lifts. Which did you have in mind?
Well, either if you,
I'm really messing up, guys, so sorry.
Well, either if you
feeling, okay.
amenable enough to discuss your experiences. Did either of them ever bring up their involvement within the Echo Historical Society?
Miss Holly isn't much for talking with the help, sir.
Alright, my apologies.
On the other paw, Miss Dahlia talks plenty. Her tail sways slowly.
Does she now?
She comes across to me as the type who speaks only if she thinks you're worth talking to, so I was surprised I piqued her interest.
Did she ever bring up anything unusual with you?
Unusual's a bit broad, Mr. Burns.
Anything of the
preternatural nature. What does that mean? I don't know.
I mean,
her expression lightens and she chops. Seems like she thought he had something else in mind. You mean seances and palm readings? Now that you mention it, she would sometimes bring up the activities the Historical Society are involved in. But she didn't seem to put much stock in it. She'd make fun of the crystals and people sharing their dreams to ballad music. Miss Holly would pretend not to be bothered, but I could see she cared more than that. Murdoch lets out a soft laugh.
Right, no. Dahlia wouldn't care much for the parlor tricks, would she? She loses interest in something once she's figured out how it works.
But she does talk a great deal about natural phenomena. Mathematics for the stars, and the weather, and various other lofty subjects that I can tell she was annoyed I couldn't make heads or tails of. But she did say something once that stuck with me, something that came across a little bit odd. We're scheduled for a calamity soon.
So, you know about it already then?
If you mean that there's folks who think a disaster of some form is coming to town soon. If you've heard rumors and whispers from paranoid folks all around town, but it's never been specific. Take Miss Dahlia's phrasing, for example. We're scheduled for a calamity soon. She'd say it on certain occasions, like when her powder slipped from her purse, and whenever she skipped an extra step for catching the toe of her heel on a rock. One day, and it was a Sunday if I recall, she said that phrasing again, very calmly, when I was cleaning her drinks. Just know that it was a very slow day. We were sharing stories about our jewelry, right, before it happened. Whatever I said before must have moved her, because she touched my wrist with her glove once I finished. Do you have a place to stay outside of the city, she said. And then I said I didn't. Then she repeated that odd phrase, then pat my paw. You should still take your chances. Get out before the end of summer. The shift in tone was too sudden for me to take... The shift in tone was too sudden for me to take it completely serious, but it didn't seem like a joke when she said it.
What the hell? And What did you say to her after that?
I just asked her, what if I can't? And she just said, well, we'll see. She hasn't brought it up again since. For a moment, the four of us look around, just to see if anybody else is looking our way, but the groups of people are all wrapped up in their own conversations. And the steady drone? Yes. Makes it harder to hear much of anything from a distance.
So, here's my question. Would you be interested in hearing what we think she might have been talking about?
Of course. It was quite the thing for her to say, and then leave me in the dark about.
How come you've never brought it up before?
There's a lot of things I don't bring up. That's not the oddest thing somebody has said to me at the hip. Murdoch makes a gesture with his paws.
Let's start from the beginning, then. In City Hall, there's a good deal of information about Echo's manifold troubles. In 1865, there were several mass upsets in the area, but the biggest happened due to ritual killings of several children of the settlers.
Yeah, it's a bit hard not to know about that one.
What's particularly scandalous is that the man hung and convicted of these murders, John Begay, never heard of him, was a notable associate of CSCG's original co-owners.
Cynthia shifts a little uncomfortably when she hears the name.
Some accounts of the incident say Begay publicly claimed that he had an intimate affair with James Hendricks Sr., the grandfather of the current Hendricks in town. But even after Begay's death, children still went missing.
Sounds like they might have got the wrong guy.
Either that, or multiple people were in on the killings. Regardless, Hendricks Sr., along with his social circle, were ostracized so severely by the company that they left the state altogether. This had some influence on the collapse of ranching and the trapping industries in the area, and the township civilian population.
What is this word? Population. What is this one? Plateaued? Is that what that is? That is not plateaued, right?
Plateaued once that institutional knowledge had left.
I'm having troubles with vocabulary today, guys. Don't worry about that. Murdoch's expression turned a bit dubious, as if he didn't expect us to put much stock in what he was saying.
There are certain accounts in City Hall that a good number of Echo civilians at the time claimed their furs and hides had come back to life, hurting or something, killing entire families. These weren't just stories. These were legal claims shared by a wide number of unaffiliated parties. According to the records, enough people collectively believed that event really occurred, such as that no citizens were accursed or held responsible for these deaths.
So, were they all either sick with something, or were they lying?
I imagine a little of both. I have reason to believe that there was something else in the environment that made people believe something else was going on. And when a few people act their worst around those already compromised, a few rotten apples spoil the bunch.
Sounds like what happened with the Puritans. Oh, right. Samuel. Right, he's a character. He hasn't talked much yet, has he? He's had like 3 lines.
Like how the witches got him.
All 3 of them give me a tired look. They were killing innocent people for the land, Sam.
And the Puritans were getting poisoned by the fungus in their rye bread, too. That made hallucinations even easier to spread.
My cheeks feel a little hot.
Well, it ain't impossible. Some of them were making each other sick.
It's possible.
but we just don't know. Somebody would have to know the rye was, what was making people sick, even if they hadn't figured out how yet. But anyhow, this event would have been the end of the town's economy, if not for the miners. Turns out you don't need to rely on so much on settled families when the Transcontinental Railroad bringing a certain work for able-bodied men. That's partly why women remained less than a tenth of Echo's population to this day, but was even lower back then. That model for growth wasn't foolproof, though. City Hall records further mention a mining crew finding a mutilated body in the mines in 1877. What? What? The second James Hendricks was in charge of the company by then, declaring that the death was merely a workplace accident. A not uncommon necessary evil we pay for the price of progress. Except they drew a picture of the body. Why is he bringing all this up? This worker's hands were completely severed from the wrists. His stomach was sliced open, and his intestines were coiled around the spokes of a mining cart wheel. He had been tortured to death. The town had not rest easy until would not rest until the culprit was found. Why is he looking at me? A Sonoran man named...
That name, folks, you can read it. It's on the screen. I'm not trying today!
Eventually lurched by the public when they found personal items belonging to the deceased in his person. Did he do it? He claimed innocence, but it wasn't for the law that passed judgment. They said that they found him in their homes in the middle of the night, taking their things and breathing loudly while they could see him but couldn't move. He was probably just a thief. What's strange is that they say there was nothing missing when they woke up. These shared visions were enough to get people to suspect him. Once they found the pocket watch, well, the sheriff at the time didn't think there was enough proof, and he wasn't too much inclined towards violence. No, excuse me. So the people lashed out. He's still looking at me.
He's talking to you! Come on, Sam! But I understand he feels guilty. I get it. No worries.
Did any lurid deaths happen after they got him? If they did, they didn't record them. Or didn't discover them.
I can't figure out how to voice Ralph, guys. It is what it is.
But just like before, this had an effect on the town's population. The public accepted that there was a murder within the company and exacted their idea of justice. If they had to accept the murder took place, they also had to accept that James Jr. was trying to cover it up, rather than root out a killer. People don't much care if hundreds of men get mangled on the job, if it isn't an accident.
If it's an accident.
But if somebody's playing with their people, and you don't put your foot down, it makes you look weak.
Y'all sound like you've been comparing notes for a while.
Years. By 1890, Echo had
hemorrhaging. Okay.
The lifeblood of its population again. Echo wasn't seen as a desirable place to live, even in spite of the work opportunities. And you can guess who took the blame. If they wanted to change the narrative, they needed to change which Hendricks was running the mines. Sometimes I think you're not as stupid after all.
Don't be so petty when somebody shows off their best. Otherwise, you might not get to see it again. Ralph rolls his eyes.
It's true. James Hendricks Jr. invested heavily into tourism from 1893 until 1910, which more than influenced which things are in town in the modern day. They brought in the steamboat industry to take advantage of our natural lakes and rivers. Honestly, if it weren't for the Hendrixes, the second we'd both be out of the job. He sold a good chunk of his family's land to commercial ventures throughout town at a heavy discount. That's why your boss built the hip where she did. It was good business. Yeah, just like you. The school wouldn't be half as impressive today without Hendrix Jr.'s investment in heavy renovations. There wasn't even seats in the auditorium when his father owned the mines. But to get to what my sister was telling you...
Okay, this video's getting a bit long, guys. So we'll be ending the part here, so I do hope you all have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys around.